In this video, I'm going to go over my top 10 tips that I've learned about tomatoes in my 20 years of growing them. Plus, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you a bonus you won't want to miss. And just a note, a lot of these have supplemental videos that I've done in the past, so I will link all the related videos down in the video description. Let's get right into number one, and that is you need to know the type of tomato that you're growing. Not the variety, although that could help, but the type, because different types of tomatoes are grown different ways. There are four main types of tomatoes: indeterminate, determinate, beefsteak, and cherry. Let's get started with cherry. Cherry tomatoes are pretty much the easiest type of tomato to grow because they just run wild, do what they want, pretty much disease-free, and they produce a ton. So the number one thing I want to stress, because I've had so many people comment about this and ask questions, we do not prune cherry tomatoes. The only time you prune cherry tomatoes is just if they're getting too big, you can kind of prune them to shape, or if they've got some disease issues, you can prune that off. Indeterminate tomatoes are the type of tomatoes, they're probably the most common type grown, and that means they grow and they grow and they grow and produce and produce and produce until the frost comes to kill them. And if you don't have frost in your area, they can pretty much grow through the entire winter. They probably will slow down in their production when the weather gets colder. I've gotten the question for years, if we live in a mild climate, can we just grow that tomato plant on the next year? And my answer has always been, it's gonna probably do less the following year. And they're just so easy to grow and quick growing. It's probably worth just starting them over. The other type is a determinate plant. And these are something like Roma tomatoes, where they stay compact, maybe 2-3 feet tall, maybe 4. They produce most of their fruit all at one time, and then they're done. These don't need pruning either. I'm going to get into pruning the indeterminate type a little bit later in this video. The last type of tomato is a beefsteak, and they're kind of a hybrid between indeterminate and determinate. They produce more flowers and fruit on their side branches, where indeterminates usually don't. And so we really kind of want to just prune for shape. You can let the side branches produce one truss of fruit and then cut that side branch off of that so it doesn't kind of go crazy and take over. But minimal pruning is good for beefsteak tomatoes. Tip number 2 is about the amount of hours of sun that tomatoes require. In northern latitudes in the United States, there's no question they actually need a full day of sun. 8 hours or more of direct sunlight is best. If you're in the southern part of the United States, and Texas, I'm definitely looking at you, you just get too hot in the summertime to have them in full sun. And so you can drop them down to 5 or 6 hours and shade them either midday or in the afternoon. You can use shade cloth, other trees, a fence, however you want to do that. But you want to cut down on the amount of sun they use. Now, if your garden is completely sunny in these areas, get some 35% shade cloth and you can grow the tomatoes under the shade cloth, and that will bring the temperature down. The problem with high temperatures with tomatoes is that the flowers tend to drop off. The plant wants to save its energy in the heat to ripen the fruit it's already got, or just to make it through a really hot summer. So they don't care about flowers. So they're going to dry up, they're going to fall off. But if you keep them just a little bit cool, and we're talking, you don't want it to get over 85 degrees Fahrenheit for more than a few days at a time. Otherwise, you really do need to shade them. But that could bring the temperature down just enough to get them through the hottest part of the summer. Tip number 4 is to definitely incorporate companion plants with your tomatoes. Now, the biggest one by far for me is basil, and I always grow a row of basil here along the front of my tomato beds. The moth that lays the eggs that become the dreaded tomato hornworm, they find tomatoes through scent. And so if you can put another strongly scented plant with your tomatoes, like basil, I can smell it just sitting right here, it's going to confuse that moth and they're not going to be able to find the tomato plant. And I'm telling you, it works. I've done it the last 6-7 years. Never, ever have I had a tomato hornworm on my plant, except one year, a couple years ago, I planted one tomato in another part of the property, didn't even think about putting basil there. That's the one I got tomato hornworms on. Now, I have a video that I'll put down below. It's a whole bunch of companion plants. I think there was 10 in that video that you can use for all different kinds of pests and diseases for tomatoes. So make sure you look for that one. Number 5 is fertilizing your tomatoes correctly. When I plant my tomatoes, I use Neptune's Harvest Crab and Lobster and kelp meal. I'll link all these products down below as well. You can use any kind of organic granular fertilizer at planting time. You just want to hold off on a lot of nitrogen. A lot of nitrogen is going to just put more leaves, more branches on your tomatoes, and it's not going to produce more flowers and fruit for you. What you want is a higher middle number, phosphorus, to produce the fruit, and the last number, which is potassium. So keep the first number low. So throughout the season, I use Neptune's Harvest Tomato and Veg, which is specially formulated for tomatoes. It's a 2-4-2, so you get the higher middle number, which is the phosphorus. And I'll use that every couple of weeks throughout the season. Take a look at this plant here, fruiting its little head off. But do you notice the ratio of leaves to fruit? There's almost no leaves. This plant gets very little nitrogen, but lots of phosphorus. Number 6 is correct spacing. Now, if you grow them up strings like I do, you can get a tomato plant in every foot. It allows you to grow more plants with more variety. These are spaced about 12 inches apart, so I've got 16 tomato plants in a bed that's 3 feet by 8 feet. If you're not growing your tomato plants up a string or cordon method, you want to space them a lot wider apart. So if it's a determinate plant, like a Roma tomato, maybe 2 feet apart would be good. And if it's an indeterminate plant, you want to space it maybe 3 to 4 feet from the next tomato. Now, while we're talking about spacing and support, if you're not using a string or a cane to grow them up like this, like these are done, then you want to use a tomato cage. You want a larger size tomato cage, and you want it to be sturdy. A lot of the ones you get at the garden center, they're not even going to make it home sometimes. The rings start falling off. So while you're at the garden center, shake them around, be a little rough with them, and make sure they're not going to break on you that first year or first day. You want something that's going to last a few years. Or you can do what my grandma always did, and that is just plant your tomato, put some sticks around it, wrap some string around those sticks, and it's going to do just fine. Now, for indeterminate tomatoes, I definitely prefer the cordon method, growing them up single stem, because it lets a lot more airflow through the plant. So if you live in one of those places that's humid, muggy, hot throughout the summer, this is the way you want to do it to prevent disease. It also gets the fruit up off the ground, away from pests. You're going to get bigger and better fruit because of the airflow, because of the light. Tip number 8 is the hook and lower method. You can only do that on strings, but instead of tying your string at the top, I use hooks. We actually sell the hooks. We offer the lowest price, best quality hooks that we have found out there. I'll leave a link down below in the description. But what this allows you to do, normally when you would grow up a string or a cane, when it gets to the top of the string or cane, typically you're going to cut it off. Now, in shorter climates, this is okay. Short summer climate, short growing season, because you really want to do that so that the plant can ripen all the tomatoes that it already has there before your cold weather comes. But if you live in a place where you don't get frost until October, November, or never, then what do you do when the plant reaches the top of whatever you're growing it? It can start to flop over and you can just let it grow back down, but a lot of times it gets heavy, it'll break, bend, it gets diseased. It's just not a good way of doing things. But if you have the hooks, you can just unhook that hook, let some more string out. It lowers the entire plant down. So now it has another 2 feet to grow. When it reaches the top again, let some more string out. It lowers the plant down. You can do this indefinitely, pretty much till you run out of string or until the cold weather comes to kill it. We've sold out on these hooks so many times over the last 3 years of offering them because they work so well and you guys love them. They are in stock right now though. So if you haven't tried it, definitely give them a try. Tip number 9 is to prune the tomato plants that can be pruned. Now, we've already talked about don't prune cherry tomatoes. You don't need to prune determinate tomatoes and mildly prune beefsteak. But the indeterminate type definitely benefit from pruning, especially again if you live in hot, humid climates. The first thing I do is simply take the leaves off the plants at the bottom that start to yellow and turn brown. This is completely normal. A lot of people freak out when this happens if they're their first time growing tomatoes. The leaves are going to turn brown. In fact, generally by mid-season, the bottom 3 feet of my tomatoes are completely bare with just bunches of tomatoes hanging there. You also want to take out the excess leaves so you can actually kind of see through the plants. Again, this is all about airflow and preventing disease. And then if you're single stemming your tomatoes, most of the fruit on an indeterminate tomato grows off of that main stem. And so all the side shoots that develop in the armpits of the tomato, which is where the main stem meets a leaf, you're going to get a growth right there. That's going to put out almost a whole other tomato plant. Now you might get some flowers, you might get a few fruit on that, but not enough to worry about the expense that it's going to take in energy from that plant. So I go through and I pluck off all of those side branches that are growing out of the armpits. And I just wrap the tomato plant around the string all the way to the top of the trellis. Number 10 is to keep your plants. Thank you. Number 10 is to keep your plants consistently and evenly moist. You don't want tomato plants to dry out severely and then get a bunch of water. That's uneven watering, and you're going to get things like cracking. Think of a human when they gain a lot of weight, they'll get stretch marks. So it's the same for a tomato. They go dry and then get a bunch of water. They suck up as much water as they can, and the skins can't hold it. They split. Now you can still eat a tomato like this. Just cut off those stretch marks, those cracks. Another thing that can happen with uneven watering is blossom end rot. A lot of people think this is from a lack of calcium in the soil. Typically, that's not the case. There's usually plenty of calcium in your soil, but it can't be sucked up into the plant without enough water. So usually the fix for blossom end rot is just start watering evenly and it will correct itself. And you can use the finger method. Stick your finger 2 inches in the soil. If you feel wetness, don't water. Feels dry, water. While we're talking about watering, you always want to water tomatoes from below. You don't want sprinklers, overhead watering, spraying with a hose. That's going to invite disease. Not only is it going to, make the leaves wet, and if they stay wet, it's a great breeding ground for bacteria. But if you spray against the ground and that water splashes from the ground to the plant, there are spores living on and in your soil of bad bacteria, viruses that are going to splash up to the leaves of your plant. They're going to find a great home and they're going to proliferate. So always water from below. If you can do drip systems, that's the best way to do it. Use drip irrigation. And another tip when it comes to watering is to mulch your tomatoes. I just use some pine shavings, nice thick layer, 2 to 3 inches. That's going to keep weeds down, but it's also going to keep the moisture in the soil rather than just evaporating on those hot days. And you can use anything that is kind of organic and will break down. Pine needles, pine shavings, grass clippings, newspaper, cardboard, anything. I think tip number 10 had a lot of mini tips in it. But now it's time for the bonus. Sometimes you'll find your flowers falling off, drying up and falling off when it's not even hot weather. And the main reason for that is a lack of pollination. Now, we have a lot less bees right now than we used to, so we want to give them a hand. A really fun and easy way to do this is go to Dollar Tree, get yourself a cheap $1, $1.50, $2, whatever they are, electric toothbrush. And you can just hold that electric toothbrush on the flowers, and that vibration mimics a bumblebee's vibration, and you're going to pollinate the flower. You don't have to go like a squash and do a male flower, female flower. Tomatoes have perfect flowers, and that means the male and female reproductive organs are in the same flower. So you just have to move it around just a little bit to get the pollen to where it's supposed to go. So the toothbrush will work, a little paintbrush will work, just go around and brush all the flowers. Or if you're growing them on a string or a tomato cage, just hit that every day as you walk by it, and that's just going to jostle them enough to get the pollen where it needs to go. On dry days. If you do it on a wet day, that pollen's going to be gummy and it's not going to kind of make that poof and go where it needs to go. So you want to make sure you're doing it in dry weather. I hope these tips helped. If you learned something, definitely give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And click on this video right here if you want to learn about something you probably have in your medicine cabinet right now that's going to keep your plants disease-free. It's going to give you better fruit and just overall healthier tomato plants. And if you have a hot, humid summer, I'm definitely talking about you. You need to click that video right now. I'll see you guys next time.